1999, David Phillips, a civil engineer, discovered a healthy choice promotion offering 500 frequent flyer miles for every 10 barcodes of their products. If they are redeemed in the first month, he would not only get 500 but 1000 miles. He saw the opportunity of a loophole and did anything in his power to take advantage of it. He bought 12,000 cups of pudding worth 25 cents each to collect the barcodes and asked local church members to help him cut out the barcodes. He sent the barcodes to Healthy Choice and his efforts paid off, earning him a staggering 1.2 million miles and becoming publicly known as the Pudding Guy. This story was my first encounter with the topic of this video. I was fascinated by the out-of-the-box thinking and started researching similar cases. What I discovered was not just a few, but an entire collection of loopholes. People, groups, communities, whole industries seeking for loopholes for centuries and being damn successful with it. A cat and mouse game seemingly everywhere. A constant battle between rule makers and those who seek to outsmart them. I gathered the best loopholes I could find and hereby present to you the sensation of loopholes. A loophole can exist in pretty much any situation in various forms, but there's one pattern that seems to be repeating, and it goes as follows. There are two groups. The first group is the system, a set of rules, laws, or guidelines that are communicated to the opposing side trying to force a desired outcome. The financial system has the goal to maintain economic stability, your local school has the goal to maintain a peaceful learning atmosphere, and your mother asking you to do dishes has the goal to raise a well-mannered child. The complexity of the system is not our primary concern. It is the system's weakest points we will focus on. So it doesn't matter if the system is a school guideline, the financial system, or your mother asking you to do something. Each and every one share the property of proposing a system, a rule, or a task that can leave room for interpretation to the advantage of the second group, the exploiter. An individual or group that identifies and takes advantage of weaknesses in the system, either accidentally or in most cases deliberately, to gain some form of incentive with the risk of a consequence. With the incentive and consequence also comes the scale of the loophole. When exploiting the school's guideline, there's no big consequences except some disciplinary measures or a call to your parents. However, if you dare to exploit the financial system for your own well-being and get caught, you can expect huge fines or a life behind bars. So, in essence, a loophole is a misconception between two groups resulting in the outcome, the objective or fact of the loophole being used. The outcome is very interesting because it is not only the immediate consequence we just talked about, in most cases it is also progress. Loopholes get closed, new rules get introduced, and the system grows and becomes more stable. What will be a big hit at the moment will be an even bigger security breach closed in the future. It's not rare that big loopholes get closed and rule makers are close to happy that the loophole was not abused to its max potential. This will get more clear once we take a look at the everyday life loopholes teach us the most about the question, why are loopholes so common? While growing up, we get increasingly confronted with rules and cries that constrict us in our freedom and make us less autonomous. Scientists found out that the cognitive requirements for loopholes develop at the age of 5. Children start to get a feeling of social consequences and understand that non-compliance is not the right way, so they use loopholes. And the tests in the study are somehow pretty funny if you ask me. Parent, here's $5 for your trip. Don't spend it all, please. Child, returns with 3 cents left. Parent, why are you eating a cookie? I said you can't have one. Child, you said I can't have one. I'm eating 2 cookies. Parent, can you pass the salt? Child, yes. The study also found that the children were not wrong in the assumption that using loopholes is better than non-compliance. In fact, most parents perceived the behavior as amusing and clever, which mitigated the consequences. This pattern does not simply stop in the later stages of life. In school, some students may rely on cheating or taking advantage of higher performing peers doing group work or homework. In universities, students choose less challenging courses in order to maintain a high GPA. And in work life, employees ruthlessly exploit remote work policies and sick days for some free time. Loopholes are everywhere. If I learned anything in 2 months of research, it is that when there is a system, there will be an exploiter. People seem to naturally look at systems and seek for ways to outdo it. It's sounds very malicious at first, but that's also the very thing that progresses the biggest system there is, our society. If you wouldn't have the natural gift to look at the whole thing and question it, there would be no progress at all. Imagine a world where everyone would just accept the thing as it is. Quite boring if you ask me. Alright, so now that you understand my concept of loopholes, we will now get to some really neat cases that sparked my excitement to make this video. We will start off with some historic loopholes and will end the video with what I believe is the absolute pinnacle of loophole sensation. There are people that just can't get enough of taking advantage of the systems presented to them and try to gain major advantages while not being scared of major consequences. With major consequences, one might expect jail time or large fines. However, in medieval England, the most severe punishment was execution. If you committed a crime in medieval times, there were two courts you could be presented to: the normal court or the church court. The normal court were for the masses and sentenced criminals to severe punishment like execution by hanging. The church court, however, was intended to protect clergy members like priests and monks from harsh worldly justice. In order to claim clergy status and prove that you were a member of the church, you had to simply read Psalm 51 from the Bible, also known as the neck verse. This sounds very easy at first, but worked out well since non-clergy people had no access to the Bible and it was in Latin, which only the clergy members understood. But that was not a barrier for too long. Criminals learned the verse and got away with severe crimes while pretending to be a clergy member. However, if a defendant who claimed the benefit of clergy were thought to be specifically deserving of death, courts would occasionally ask him to read a different passage from the Bible and therefore revealing the impostors. A couple centuries later, an infamous loophole unraveled in India. In the early 1900s, the British colony in Delhi faced a severe cobra infestation. To combat this, they offered a bounty for every dead cobra. Initially, this seemed effective as many cobras were killed for the reward. However, five-head local villagers soon began breeding cobras to maximize their earnings. When the government discovered this, they cancelled the bounty program, leading the breeders to release their now worthless cobras into the wild, worsening the infestation. This phenomenon, known as the cobra effect, illustrates how well-intended policies can backfire due to exploited loopholes. It underscores the importance of anticipating unwanted consequences when designing regulations. I actually found enough cobra effect cases to make a video just on that. If you're interested, let me know. From the abuse of Bible verses and venomous snakes to the walls of English homes. 1700 England, the window tax. To tax the rich, reigning King William III introduced the window tax, a property tax based on the number of windows in a building. The intent was clear: property owners with large houses and more windows would pay more, while those with smaller homes would pay less. But the design of the tax left room for interpretation. Initially, houses with more than 10 windows were taxed. This number was later reduced to 7 windows. The principle remained the same: more windows resulted in higher taxes. The property owners adapted fast and started to just prick up their windows to achieve lower window numbers and therefore lower taxes. It even got to the stage where new buildings were intentionally built to have less windows to meet certain thresholds. The tax was in place for 150 years and not only led to houses all over England to look like this, but also resulted in a massive decline of public health as the reduction in windows led to poorly ventilated and darker homes. Due to the public outcry and the recognition of its negative impact, the tax was repealed in 1851 and replaced by a tax on house values. Tax loopholes like the window tax were actually very common and are a small teaser of what people are ready to do when it comes to money. But before we talk about that, we will cover the loopholes with by far the most emotions involved: sports. Sports have always been a microcosm of human ambition, where the thrill of competition and the pursuit of excellence come to life. From the roar of the crowd in a packed stadium to the quiet intensity of a lone athlete preparing for a crucial moment, they are a testament to the power of dedication, strategy and skill, where every victory is hard-earned and every defeat a lesson in resilience. Yet within this arena of honor and fair play, there exists a shadowy counterpart. Just as athletes push their physical and mental limits, some seek to push the boundaries of the rules themselves. 1992 European Championship Finals. Denmark faced off against the reigning world champion, Germany. Denmark's journey to the final was nothing short of miraculous. They were the ultimate underdogs, having been called up at the last minute to replace Yugoslavia, who were disqualified due to a civil war. After scoring 2 goals against Germany, Denmark loopholed a rule that got changed the same year. Before 1992, goalkeepers were allowed to pick up the ball with their hands if it was deliberately kicked to them by a teammate. This rule was intended to give goalkeepers more control and safety in handling the ball, but led to a loophole being recklessly abused by almost every team to waste time and take pace out of the game when they were in a winning position. As you can hear, the spectators didn't like it either. The very next tournament, the backpass rule was changed and major leagues like the Premier League quickly followed. From angry spectators to helping spectators. 1999, Phoenix Open. Tiger Woods and Billy Mayfair are head-to-head in an intense battle when this happened.
1, 2, 3,
A group of spectators moving a boulder out of the way for Tiger Woods' shot. How is that legal? The loose impediment rule allows players to remove loose objects like leaves, twigs, stones or trash from around their ball with the intent to protect players from unpredictable objects lying in their shot. The boulder was inspected and considered not attached to the ground and therefore technically removable. Tiger Woods wasted no second and asked the spectators to help him flip the boulder, and so they did. Tiger Woods went on to win the tournament by 1 stroke, and the incident sparked a major discussion in the golf community over the interpretation of the rules. Interpretation is a key part when talking about loopholes. Rulemakers have to refine and clarify rules 24/7 to address the creative interpretation of the competitors. They ensure that the intended purpose of the regulation is upheld and all participants have the chance to compete on a fair playing field. Think of a sport or game where everyone plays by their own set of rules. There would be no chance for fair competition. There's one sport though that comes very close to that. It's truly the masterclass where every small interpretation advantage can be the difference between glory or defeat. Formula 1. What makes Formula 1 exciting is undoubtedly the relentless fight for speed and the cutting-edge technology that unveils the fastest cars on the planet every year. I know these things exist, by the way, but let's forget about that for a minute. With stars like Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, one might forget that there's not only a championship for the drivers, but also for the constructors. This championship is designed to push teams to their limits and reward them in the end. We can't possibly cover the complexity of what it takes to construct a car that fast, but if we talk about anything, it is downforce. Downforce is the lifeblood that allows Formula 1 cars to defy gravity. It's the secret sauce that enables drivers to take sharp turns at breakneck speeds, transforming every corner into a ballad of precision. In the world of F1, downforce is the difference between a champion's victory lap and a crash into the barriers. In the relentless pursuit of victory, Formula 1 teams are like masterful alchemists constantly seeking for the formula for speed. They craft machines that push the boundaries of what's possible. Each team is a hive of creativity where engineers and designers create ideas that could shave precious milliseconds off lap times. The most legendary example for this is probably the legendary Brabham fan car, a marvel of engineering. Designed by Gordon Murray, this car featured a massive fan at the rear as stated for cooling, but actually creating ungodly amounts of downforce. This innovation turned the car into a cornering demon, allowing Niki Lauda to dominate the 1978 Swedish Grand Prix. It was a brief but brilliant flash of genius, quickly banned but forever cemented in F1 history. Another example is the infamous double diffuser of 2009, a masterstroke of rule interpretation. Braun GP, Toyota and Williams found a way to channel airflow in a manner the regulations hadn't anticipated, creating extra downforce and propelling Jenson Button to a championship-winning season. The double diffuser was a triumph of rule interpretation and legal acumen, a testament to the relentless ingenuity that in the end defines F1. Yet the guardians of the rulebooks are always watching. When innovations like the fan car or the double diffuser push too far, the rulemakers step in, closing loopholes and restoring balance. It's a perpetual game of cat and mouse where the pursuit of technical advantage is both an art and a science. A thrilling dance of the system and the exploiter. From a loophole playground where everything is done to gain speed, we are now heading into a world where even more is done to gain money. In the high-stakes world of finance, the quest for profit is as relentless as the need for speed in Formula 1. Financial experts navigate a complex web of regulations, always on the lookout for loopholes that can provide a competitive edge, or in other words, more money, more power. The financial system, much like the racetrack, is a battleground where innovation and strategy can lead to big victories or catastrophic failures. In the early 2000s, a critical loophole in the financial system allowed banks to offload risky home loans by bundling them into complex financial products. This process enabled banks to issue more loans without holding the risk. Credit rating agencies that should protect investors actually misled them into framing the product as safe. The complexity of these financial instruments masked the true risk, and regulatory bodies failed to keep up with the rapid innovation. This loophole created a ticking time bomb, setting the stage for the 2008 financial crisis. When housing prices began to fall, the reality of the risky loans came crashing down. Major financial institutions found themselves on the brink of collapse. The crisis quickly spread, leading to a global economic downturn, with stock markets crashing and unemployment rates soaring. Governments had to step in with massive bailouts to prevent a complete economic meltdown. The insane scale and consequence of this crisis leave me no choice but to name the 2008 financial crisis the pinnacle of loophole sensation. But that was never the point of this video. What excites me about loopholes is the process itself. All of the loopholes that took place in this video and take place every day couldn't be more diverse in terms of where they took place. But if you put yourself in the position of each protagonist, the differences get very slim. All of them have an overview and understanding of the system in their respective way and searched for and found a loophole in it. It's the objective consequences and impact of the loophole that get more important, or rather more consequential. So the principles remain the same on every level, it is just the thrill that changes. Don't get me wrong, of course the 2008 financial crisis is more tragic than a child eating 2 cookies, but as I said, the scale is not what fascinates me. I found a certain excitement in exploring the universal human ability of exploiting systems and the insane quantity of it. Loopholes are literally everywhere. The examples in this video are merely a snowflake resting on the tip of a massive iceberg. Loopholes showcase the creativity and problem-solving abilities of humans as we form and create new exciting systems and seek to destroy them seemingly in the same breath. Loopholes drive development and push boundaries. They make systems grow and challenge them to be stable enough to withstand the genius of interpretation we all possess. Their unpredictable character make them invisible at first and blatantly obvious at last. This to me is the sensation of loopholes.